Hello, and welcome to the Healing Dreams Project, exploring projective dream work for your health and wholeness with hosts Billy Ortiz and Dr. Royce. I'm the producer, Viviana, and today we are going to explore one of Dr. Royce's dreams. I'm excited. And yeah, so let's just dive right in. What do you think?
Let's dive.
All right.
Yeah, so first, I'm grateful that I get to share a dream, and I know I just want to sneak in this little thing with the years that I attended the retreats. I never had a chance to share a dream of my own, and always participated with other people as they shared theirs. And of course, the projective format means their dream is my dream. And I also want to underline that, and there's another level of nurturing and love and wisdom and insight that comes when a person does get to share their own dream.
Right.
And so I get to do that tonight, and I'm grateful. So this dream is about. Oh, I wanted to do a plug for and I know we'll bring it up at the end of the show, but I want to do a plug for our dream hotline, because all of you amazing dreamers in the universe that are listening, it will feel amazing for you to share your dream and for us to project ourselves into your dream. So please keep that in mind. You will love the result. Okay.
I can name say the number if you'd like. The Dreamer Hotline, if you have a pencil handy.
Let's do it.
Is 720-573-9195. And one more time, it's 720-573-9195.
The voicemail is standing by to take the recording. You have 3 minutes. So please let us know.
We'd love to hear from you.
I had this dream September 25th of this year. And this dream is about our mentor, our beloved friend, Jeremy Taylor, who more than anyone else, for me anyway, introduced the concept of what we call projective dream work. And he died about 5 years ago, and he visits innumerable times. About once or twice a year, I'll have a dream about Jeremy that I'll remember, and they all kind of have some similarity in how the dream appears, and also some of what takes place in the dream. And I'll explain more of that, but that's enough of a prelude, I hope. I've had 3 dreams about Jeremy. These are my notes about the dream. During the night, I had 3 dreams about Jeremy, or actually, this is one long dream with 3 separate visitations by Jeremy. It's hard to remember any of the visitations in detail. My memory of the dream is that he is delivered or brought to us in some kind of strange, almost cartoonish vehicle. Each time I see Jeremy, I'm aware that he looks slightly different than before in this sequence. It was like he was somewhat not exactly looking like the Jeremy I know in the waking world. The last time he visited in this dream, he sort of had a little bit of cross-eyed vision as I noticed him. Our friend Billy is there, and she says something about this, and I can't remember what it is she says, yet it feels true that the visitations are being different each time. And I said something like, it takes a lot out of him to come and visit, to appear each time. And as I said that, it just felt like click, that makes sense. It takes a lot out of him to come. He came and each time we were in different groups of people, different kinds of groups. People around us were the groups took place outside, and so all of us were outside in each of these visitations. There was someone, a kind of smallish younger man, who was making some comments. It seemed like he kept wanting to come around to these groups. We acknowledged him, and I think Jeremy noticed him and acknowledged this youngish man as well. It was inspiring to see Jeremy, and I know I hungered. I could feel the hunger for some of his wisdom. I know I wasn't the main reason Jeremy was there. It was like it was just time for him to come, and he wanted to. The last time I saw him in the dream, he was getting ready to drive away or depart in some way. And I teasingly said to Jeremy, Jeremy, come on, give us 5 more years. Just give me 5 more years. And Billy made some comment like, Royce, that ain't possible. And yet it was okay to ask. And Jeremy, of course, could not offer that, nor did he want to. End of dream.
Wow. Oh.
So just a quick reflection. I didn't remember it was 5 years until as we were getting ready for podcast
Right.
and I didn't remember that occurred in the dream, that,
Yeah.
I'm using the number 5 and pleading with him.
Oh, well, the dream knew. The dream
Yes.
knew the clock time. So
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Mhm.
Can you describe this cartoon vehicle a little more?
Yeah. So I not really, but yes. It seems like it's kind of like a child's push cart, that they can
Right.
ride in and pedal their legs and it can move around, something like that. Each time, though, it was a different kind of vehicle, and by cartoonish, I can't remember more than to say it was cartoonish. It was not like a waking life vehicle, and there was a kind of humor-ish energy about how he was coming. So the cartoonish vehicle was part of the ambiance, I guess, of the dream.
And is it just Jeremy in the vehicle pushing with his legs to get to us each time?
Yeah. So I don't want to make it sound like that's exactly how I saw him arrive. It just reminds me of those
Right. Okay.
kinds of self-pushing vehicles. Like a one passenger vehicle, like a little child would have, and they're
Like
pushing themselves
big
around the
wheels and
yard.
all. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Those big
Yeah.
plastic, the big thing.
Right.
They can just
Mhm.
they can control it to their
Mhm.
height.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah.
Mhm.
So, well, we have to ask, what are my projections as the dreamer onto Jeremy? What are the adjectives I would use to describe him?
So I project upon Jeremy as an, a sage,
Mm-hmm.
a encyclopedia of knowledge, both spiritual, mythological, scriptural, and multi-religious understandings. I've always been fascinated by how he can draw on so much knowledge.
Yeah.
I experienced Jeremy as funny, kind, using humor to disarm in a healthy way. And I have seen him several times be angry and passionate about, and he's just amazing when he is able to articulate all of those aspects. So those are some. The way he looks for me it is inviting. Quite bald and big beard and Santa Claus-ish in some appearance. And for me, he invites a kind of ease to be with him.
Okay. Well,
I've always appreciated about it that he is a minister, and I am a minister, and we both have a doctorate of ministry, and he and I would sometimes visit about the theology of all of our training, and that was a wonderful bond.
Yeah. So, what about Billy? She shows up in the dream.
Yeah. So in my projections about Billy is that if there's a Jeremy event, I experience a Billy presence, and Billy's passion about dreams, and her playful and insightful understanding is what I project onto Billy, who comes. My projections on Billy is that she has a well-honed understanding of the unconscious and the dream world and mythology, and it is hard won for her to carry that knowledge, because in my projection, my memory is that it doesn't come out of academia as such. It comes out of the true, for me, the true space and place where education educates us. So and Billy made just a little appearance in there, kind of like she was an anchor in the dream. Like, of course Billy's here, of course she's going to say whatever she said.
Thank you.
She said it feels true.
Yeah. Yeah, I homeschooled myself. And also Jeremy used to call me an independent scholar, because I just sort of follow what intrigues me, and what usually, and that's usually what I love about dreams, is because it sparks some interest in something, and then I follow that. That's the way it's been for all these years. So thank you. This cross-eyed piece is really interesting too. So because you and I both know that Jeremy suffered from detached retina often, and there was even one time that he had to.
I did not put that together until just now.
Right.
The cross-eyed piece in the dream felt, again, kind of cartoonish, that each time he comes back, he's not quite himself, a little bit different. But sorry, go ahead.
Right. No, I mean, I don't need my dreams to come and tell me that, because I already know that in waking life, but it seems to be in my version, there's some sort of mention. And my projection on that, after all the years I worked with Jeremy, that when he would have the detached retina problems and have to cancel, and I think you had to end up, I remember there was a story that you and Denise had to step in to lead a workshop when he had to leave for the medical emergency. So there's something connected with that in my dream, but also there's a place in there about reminding us that he was mortal and human, because it's so easy to project all this Zeus-like energy onto Jeremy. Oh, he'll take care of it. And he was one of those, like, yeah, I'll hug you, and you just feel like your whole life, everything's all solved. And he was that father, brother, uncle, all the positive masculine. I mean, and that's my big projection, was that he carried a lot of positive masculine energy for us all. And we had to remember that he was just as vulnerable as we are. That's just what comes to me. So I'm wondering if that's why the cross-eyed piece has to happen, to make me think of that again. Like, oh yeah, right. He was merely human, even to be, because sometimes it was so otherworldly, the way that he was able to hold on to information, and the way that it seemed to be every single person that would bring up a book or a play or a TV show or a movie, he seemed to know about it. And I'm like, I don't know how you have all the time to learn all this stuff, or and watch it and get to know it. So anyway, that's my projection there. But
Well,
go
if
ahead.
it were my dream and cross-eyed, it reminds me of a cross street, which is more than two ways, maybe three ways. It just seemed, for me, it just emphasizes this multi-layers and multilingual ability to see more, so much more than on the plate, it sounds like, and layer on the different spiritualities and mythologies, metaphors. Just that's what the cross-eyed piece speaks to me.
Yeah, that's
symbolizing,
like being able to see both ways almost.
Well, I don't see it so visually. It just seems,
it's
just this other realm, so many realms being able to cross together into one, through one person.
That's beautiful.
So I appreciate that, because when I step away from the dream and just get out of the weird, like, God, this dream is weird, he's cross-eyed kind of a thing. There's something mythological about this, isn't there, in some forms of gods and goddesses that are able to see, multi-levels and in and out, and it's like, that is how I do see Jeremy. And also there's kind of a tongue-in-cheek, a humorous presentation of that knowledge, which for me helps me to say, this is for everybody. Let's not get grandiose about it. This is for everybody. This is stuff we all can do. Yeah, good points. I remember probably 2 or 3 years into my work with Jeremy, as I was using him as my dream mentor and consultant, and going through a lot of personal strain and stress and depression and whatever, anxiety. And I just loved his projections. It was so new to me at that time. Like, oh my gosh, I'm just drinking of this life-giving water. And I just blurted out, I wish I could put you in my back pocket, Jeremy, because as soon as we, it was on Skype in those days, and as soon as we end the session, it's like all this other stuff comes rushing back and would flood me with my version of helplessness and misdirection and wondering what to do. And yet when I was talking to Jeremy, I felt anchored. Okay. And again, that's a projection. It's like I couldn't know anchoring unless I had it, except I kept projecting it onto him. And I don't remember what he said to me, but boy, he just kind of slammed that back to me when I said, I want you in my hip pocket. And he was wondrous in using the projective reflection by basically repeating, I want Jeremy in my back pocket, and the qualities that are Jeremy, without rebuking me, and also without making him like he is the answer. It was more like, these are projections I need to integrate into myself. And that came to me in a kind of a bluntness and a sense of helplessness, and yet a sense of hope that, yeah, those are in me.
Absolutely. I can only, I never met Jeremy. I only know of him through both of your projections. And I can just say, I remember, I can't get it. It's like, I can't get enough of you guys. And I'm in awe of both of you. And it's as if Jeremy is living inside of you, and you've taken over. You're the living Jeremys, at least from my point of view, for sure.
Thank you very much for that. That's very sweet. And I think I can see what I'm imagining what Royce is saying. I have felt the same when I worked with them one-on-one, because I had this long period where almost every dream I had Jeremy in it. I mean, this was like, I mean, it was quite funny, because I would read my dreams to my husband, and he would say, do you have any dream that doesn't start out with Jeremy and I are headed to Sunrise Ranch? And I'd go through my book and I'd go, well, no. And so it was quite an experience, an existential experience, I guess is the way you could explain it, because I had to deal with the understanding that, yeah, and I knew this. I knew enough about dreamwork at that point. I'm like, this is projection. I'm projecting like crazy. And we walked through it through the years of when I dreamt about him so often. And so it was like dream Jeremy and the waking life Jeremy, as I was in the process of pulling back all those projections. And there was this wonderful piece of Jeremy as a teacher and as a counselor, I guess, to be able to say, how do I, Billy, own this? So I turn that around to say, how do I, Royce, own all the things that I list for Jeremy, my dear friend and teacher and business associate and everything. I mean, he held so much of this for all of us, and I wouldn't be dreaming about him unless parts of it are true for me too. And that's a big one to own. And it's that bright shadow. And we've talked about bright shadow a lot.
Oh, and so the bright shadow piece, which is obvious in my understanding about how I view Jeremy. The fact that in the dream he's so imperfect with cross eyes and he looks different. It reminded me, remember years ago the Tom Hanks movie, I think it was Tom Hanks, where he became a clone, and it was like they were doing photocopies of him, and each time it was a little less.
It was Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. Okay. Yeah.
Right. And every time that he was duplicated again, it's like when you make a copy of a copy of a copy, it just continues to deteriorate.
Yeah. And it was almost like that. that, you know, it's
Right.
not quite Jeremy, it's a little less.
Mhm.
And I just, I don't know where to go with that. Other than to
Yeah.
how the dream was being playful about
Sure.
this. And I, you know, metaphorically or literally, I don't know. About, you know, afterlife or the other side, or
Yeah.
how we imagine and create. And you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be literal to be true.
Mhm.
So the visitation with Jeremy doesn't have to be literal, yet it is true for me. And for
Right.
him to come back each in these three segments of the dream, slightly different and slightly less perfect,
Right.
is helpful for me to own this deep humanness that I have.
Mhm.
And I get impatient with my humanity a lot. and and yeah, I don't know if I need to say more than that, but
Right. So it's like the dream does me a service to allow me to see this kind of
mhm,
cartoonish, cross-eyed version of Jeremy. And
mhm,
every time, and I say every time he appears, it's hard for him. You know, this
mhm,
is like it wasn't the main reason for me for this time. Okay. It wanted to come around. Trying to read my own handwriting. Sorry. He wanted to come around. It's inspiring. And I wasn't only the main reason that he
mhm,
came. It was
mhm,
just time for him to come.
mhm.
Like it was a
He
time.
wanted to come. Yeah, it was just time.
Right. So Jeremy, give me 5 more years. Oh, that just hit me in the
Mhm,
heart.
mhm.
And Billy says it's not possible. It's like, no, this is enough. Let me take Jeremy back now. Yeah. Um, right. So that's like the episode we did about our departed loved ones, and we discussed that about, is part of it is the visitation part. I certainly believe that. And then the other big chunk of it is what am I the why this dream now? And what am I pulling back from the projections I have on my loved one?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
seems to be important in this particular version of the dream.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, yeah, Viviana, go ahead. There's something percolating, but I don't have the words yet. So please.
I just want to reiterate that if this were my dream, I would ask myself, what am I pulling back
Mm,
on the projection? This
Mhm,
just really struck a chord with me as we were preparing
mhm,
to record this. And my friend Royce was saying, "Oh, I'm feeling frustrated with my humanness."
yeah.
And here is Jeremy in his wisdom, in
mhm,
his full, passionate, funny, kind, articulate, this articulate part of me that's coming through
Mm,
that I see so clearly in my friend Royce.
mhm,
It's just to remind me that I have Jeremy lives inside of me, and I embody a living version, even a cartoonish version, a humorous version, a fun version. My own version of Jeremy lives
mm,
inside of me, very strong and
right.
very beautifully.
Yeah. That's lovely.
mhm, mhm.
Did your percolated comment come to did it
Well,
trickle
yeah,
in?
yeah, uh, it's trying to form, and I um, uh, to give myself grace of being cross-eyed and that all of me, that the different parts of me are not necessarily perfect. There's a bit of, in the dream I say I'm inspired that Jeremy is coming to visit, and that does free me up. I mean, it does feel like grace, that I am accepting myself, even in the midst of my frustration about my humanity and the things that feel so disruptive in my work life, for instance, or personal life, and so when I can hold that awareness, I do give myself grace. I'm not as depressed or as anxious or as frustrated about a particular experience or event for today. It's like, oh, and intellectually, I get that. I get that. Experientially, I don't get it. Where that inner self says, I'm okay anyway, and I'm doing my best in my imperfections to be here, to be present, and so that does help, and that's a hard piece for me to embrace. I can right now, it's like, Jeremy's in my back pocket. I get it. I get it.
I mean, he's and at first, the name Jeremy Taylor, it sounds like a little mouse, that you would have in your pocket. It sounds like a children's book, The Adventures of Jeremy Taylor. It's so funny because I mean, it's just like Stuart Little. There's a Jeremy Taylor.
Jeremy Cricket, wasn't there? Jeremy
Cricket?
Jiminy.
Jeremy Cricket. His playfulness has always inspired me, and he could I'm playful, and we could be playful together and laugh outrageously about certain things and dreams and stuff. And one time I called him my priest of dreams, because he is a priest and I'm a priest. And I think I saw on his desk or something via Skype that he had this shaman's hat, that Mongolian style, and from that point on, when I called him, he would put that hat on. And it was very funny because sometimes we would start the Skype meeting.
Oh, that's so funny.
And I would look at him and his head was bald, and he goes, "Oh," and he grabbed the hat. He would just keep it right next to him and put it on, and he would wear it during our whole dream session. And he did that for several years. And for me, it was like this affirmation of my own shamanic energy as well as his. And we had that in common with each other. But that kind of playfulness is fun. And, when he started to do his cartoons, his comic book, his illustrated, I can't remember the word. Yeah, his graphic novels about dreams. And I hadn't put that together about this dream yet. He's pretty weird looking when he draws himself in those.
He always has it. Here's one right here. This is one of the first ones.
And he would have this little commentary being at some of the lower panels that would kind of give some wisdom about what's being said. I don't know that we can see that.
I know it's hard to see, but
Yeah.
There, I know in the virtual background, if I turn the virtual background off, it will, anyway.
Well, there's light shining on it
Oh
too.
yeah, I know there's a plastic thing on it. So hang on a
Mhm.
second here. And this people that are just listening are probably wondering, what the hell?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah, there's a Jeremy picture. Oh,
Yeah,
is it?
barely. Yeah, and his thought bubble or speech bubble
Yeah, the
above his
speech
head, is that
bubble.
what that is?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's not gonna work too
Yeah,
well. I could,
and
you know what,
and so
what-
I haven't been very drawn to his graphic not novels, but graphic dream uh, books.
Mhm.
A- And yet this dream is kind of that way. It's kind of a,
Cartoonish. I
a,
thought
a
of that right away.
cartoonish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
also in
Mm-hmm.
I've heard him tell the story of his first remembered dream having to do with where he's with Goofy from the Disney character. And
Mm.
and they are, he's a little kid, and he has this, they go into this really dark room, which they know somehow is controlled by a giant, and it's really dark, and they're nervous, and he's nervous about making a sound and alerting the giant, and Goofy turns on the light, and it, it, suddenly there's the largest like toy castle you've ever seen in your life. And he's all excited, and he's a little kid, so all the characters in the castle are Disney characters, and he's just so excited about it. And then so he ends up, I don't remember how the dream ends, but he gets really, he's just thrilled that he had this dream. So he runs downstairs and talks to his grandma, and he says, Granny, I had this amazing dream. And he says, and what does it mean? And she says, oh, honey, it was a dream. It doesn't mean anything. And he said, at that moment, I took responsibility for my life, because he said, I knew my wise, wonderful grandmother, who knew so much and I loved so much, if she dismissed the dream, I knew it. He says, I didn't know what it meant, but he says, I knew it meant something. So anyway, there's a couple places where he talks about that in the interview that we do after hours with, that's up on my website and in my signature block, that there's, this understanding that even at a very young age, he knew that the dreams were important, and for that people immediately dismiss them. So that just came up right now when we're thinking about this.
Yeah, and I love that he said that's when he took responsibility for his life. That that's the coming of age, and he had a rough childhood. It was a difficult journey, and for him to learn how to be his own sense of self growing up through a dream, what an amazing thing. And again, back to try not to just talk about Jeremy, but to talk about how that is a projection. And I'm wondering too how the listener, how the Jeremy how the Jeremy and the on the other side is handling this kind of exploration about somebody that we love, this bright shadow. And this is where Guruville gets invented. This is where deities, in a sense, get invented, and saints get invented. And pardon?
Saints.
Yeah. And so this is Royce. I tread carefully on those, in those spaces and places, because we can fall down and worship, this saint or this amazing being of light. And that is, I'm going to sound judgmental, that is exactly what we ought not to do.
Yeah.
Because it's about us
Mm-hmm.
that has this beauty and glow and healing ability and wisdom. So, and that's what Jeremy, I think, constantly brought back to me, and I think to all of us, is this is about our own priesthood, our own calling these projections back.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm. I'm struck with he came 3 times. That's a lot.
I was going to say
Knocking
that.
3 times.
Mhm.
I mean, that brings in, if we keep it in the spiritual realm, the
Mhm.
Trinity,
Mhm.
it's I would, if something comes in 3 times in one night, the big force that is Jeremy to me. This is something that's trying to say, tell me something and learn from this and get this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, in my version, that's not a mistake because it happens so frequently in a lot of the fairy stories, and a lot of it's a mythological pattern. People ask me that all the time. Why does that occur so often in the tales? And my understanding and what I've felt over the years is that, first of all, it's talking about past, present, and future. So everything in this dream through the three patterns relates to all of that at the same time. So it's I can't change my past, but I can reorganize my relationship to the past. You know, I have to learn to live more in the present, and I can't live in the future, because if I'm constantly living in the future, then I'm missing the now. So there's a hint there about past, present, future, but also mind, body, spirit. So there's things that I have to fully understand on all those levels. How does this relate to my past and my present and my future? And how does this relate to mind, my intellect, body sensation, and my spirit? How and until I really fully integrate something on all those levels, I haven't really absorbed it. So in my dream, that's why the dream Jeremy has to come 3 times, so that I get it on all those levels simultaneously.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Good.
Yes. Very good. What
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering about this. It's a little man, a younger man, someone, a younger version of me, making comments.
Yeah.
And kept wanting to come around to these groups. And we're acknowledging him.
Yeah, and Jeremy acknowledged him. Yeah, again, it's foggy dream recollection. Yes, younger, smallish man showing up, and you know, I think sometimes this is where my dream story is going in my dream projection. Sometimes people are easy to dismiss because they don't fit into the mold of who I'm imagining should be in attendance. And that's kind of how this person was. And yet he kept wanting to be there, and I was acknowledging him, and Jeremy acknowledged him, and it's kind of like this welcome to people that don't necessarily look the type to be a part of this growing, this healing nature, this community. That's my quick assessment, and I hadn't thought of this either until now. But something the way Viviana brought it up touched me in that way. And maybe it was a part of my younger self, because I didn't feel necessary. I felt very out of it as a child, as a young man growing up, and feeling kind of on the edge of the cool people, of the wise people, being welcomed into a community. So that I could own that as a memory aspect of myself.
I also wanted to bring up the number 5, which in the 5 is the Hierophant, which you can't see right now. I'm trying to show. And the Hierophant is like the papal seat. So in a way,
yes,
it is like bringing in the Pope, the energy of the Pope, the energy of this magnificent Zeus. So just that speaks to me as also a card of protection from this amazing power that is the papacy.
Protection.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was just going to say spiritual authority. Yeah, that's where I look at it. Yeah. Also, 5 has a lot to do with the physical world in my version too, because as the human, we've got 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. So it reminds us of the physical body, and it reminds us of the physical plane. So there's again, the dream, part of the dream is the Jeremy that shows up is frail and has some cross-eyed issues, and it seems it's not the strong bear-like Jeremy that we all knew, and so there's some kind of hint there about physical realm being what it's bringing my attention to. So in other words, it is a visit from my friend Jeremy. However, again, it's reminding me of what I projected onto him, which I own and have even more of a chance of owning now, because he's not in the physical world. So I have to divide myself from, it's so easy to say, oh yeah, Jeremy this and Jeremy that and Jeremy this, and then I have to go, wait a minute, every time I say that, it's a part of me. Same with Billy, all the projections I have on Billy. So funny when I show up in people's dreams.
That part in the dream where I'm pleading with him, can't you give us 5 more years, and how I'm aware every visitation takes so much out of him, and there's a part of me that almost can take that literally, that it's a lot of work to come from the wherever.
Right.
It's a lot of work, a lot of energy. And I think other religious figures in history kind of show that. When Jesus was being transformed and, said, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me. It's like, oh yeah, I get that. The veil may be thin, and it's draining to be in both places.
Yeah. Wow.
And having said that, the Jeremy that lives inside of me is thrives, and is full of grace.
He's still there. Yeah. Wow.
So it's maintaining that balance.
Yeah. Thank you.
Does
Okay.
does it feel like that's a good, is there anything else you want to explore, or does that feel like a good place to?
No, I feel nourished. I feel finished for this part. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I'll put this in the show notes, but just for those listening who don't know a whole lot about Jeremy, his website has been revised with some memories of his life from his daughters, photo journals and stuff. So go to jeremytaylor.com. There's also under books is where you can look at samples of the cartoonish dream manuals.
Mhm.
And I love them because I think it's a wonderful way for me to help to remember the material, to be able to see a visual and to read at the same time.
Mhm.
Anyway, so jeremytaylor.com, it's been completely revised and updated.
Yeah, I haven't been there in a while, so that's good to know for me as well as
Yeah.
for our listeners. And the list of books that he's written are there, plus the
Right.
graphic. They're not novels, but the graphic renditions
The dream
of
comics. It's okay
dream.
to,
Yeah, the comics of our dreams.
yeah.
Once when I was researching him, I also found him in, or traces of him, his words in blog posts, in newsletters, in
Mhm.
just from, there's a
Yeah.
lot out there to
Right. I know he
discover.
published for a lot of things for Psychology Today and different things like that. So yeah,
Mhm.
you can find a lot there. So, but I'll be sure to put it in the show notes too.
Thank you. Good idea. Mhm.
Yeah. So, Royce,
Mm.
where might someone be able to find you and connect with you and learn more about you?
So I've been in this ethereal moment of working on my dream. I forgot all about that stuff.
That's just it. It takes a lot of effort to be in two places at the same time.
It does. It takes a lot out of me. So go to Royce Fitts, FITTS.com, and you'll find a whole slew of information about spiritual counseling and dream work. And my version of spiritual counseling is about that which holds our heart's deepest values, how we give meaning and purpose and beauty, and how are we doing along that way of living, giving meaning and purpose and beauty to life and healing, both in ourselves and as we connect with others. If you haven't heard, folks, it's a tough world out there, and it does take a lot out of us. And to have a place to share and explore, and to look at our dreams and see how they can provide healing and wholeness and wisdom. They already are offering that, and that's what dream work is about: is being attuned to what the dream is offering. So, and I've got my book coming out sometime after the new year begins, The Geography of the Soul, and Dreams, Reality, and the Journey of a Lifetime is the subtitle, A Straveg Across Ancient Land. So and you can find the introduction free on my website as well. So sign up.
Great. So great.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And Billy, tell us about what's going on at wakeuptoyourdreams.com.
Wakeuptoyourdreams.com. There you can sign up for private sessions or one of the groups that some meet in the evening and another group meets in the afternoons. Everything's on the calendar there at Wake Up to Your Dreams. Also, I will be starting up another round of Dreamworker training starting in January of 2023. So there's an intro workshop coming up January 14th. And the information's there on the website. And since we've talked so much about Jeremy today after Royce's lovely dream, if you go to the section of resources on my website, there's a lot of video interviews and different things where I talk with Jeremy after hours, and then a couple of clips of his of just words of wisdom. So check that out. But yeah, that's what's going on my website. Oh, and there will be another retreat planned for the spring of 2023. So got the dates.
Busy.
Yeah.
Sounds wonderful. Well, I am Viviana, and my website is viviana.org, Viviana. And I'm putting up a new page within the month, /magic. And that's where you'll find me and my alternate self. I don't know what to call that part of self, where I offer astrology, tarot, sound bath, sound healing, and dreams.
Ooh,
So
sound bath and sound healing.
So
yeah.
this is an announcement.
Well, I've always done it. I just didn't make it public. So yes, I'm
Y-
coming out with it, I suppose.
Yeah,
And it's
that's
going to be it's going to be live on my website. I've had it in sort of more quiet areas of my life. And now I'm actually going to just have it on my website, since every time it comes to the end of the show and I don't have much, so anyway, it's coming. It's happening.
All right. That's so great. All right.
Yeah. So again, if you'd like to share your dream with us, we'd love to hear it. And from you, please call us. Operators are standing by. The number is 720-573-9195. Please remember to tune into your dreams, write them down, call them in. We just look forward to hearing from you. That would be great. So in the meantime, before our next episode, please do like and subscribe to our different Healing Dreams Project channels. We're on Instagram, TikTok, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and YouTube. And I think that's it. Till the next time.
All right. Thank you.
Happy dreaming.